Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
And welcome to Travel Market Life. I'm your host Ryan Haynes, and we are joining Cristina Blaj as part of a series for Hospitality Marketplace, Just Pitch It, which is an event that's happening in November. We'll be able to give you more details on the event at the end of this roundtable as part of our Industry Insights interviews, where we're going to be discussing some of the key challenges the industry is facing. We're joined today by Joe Pettigrew, the CCO of Hospitality Asset Management at Starwood Capital Group. We're also joined by Christopher Cooper, the CCO of Cooper Consult, with 30 years experience in the industry. And we're also joined by Cristina Blaj, the CEO and founder of Open Revenue Consulting.
Travel Market Life.
So Chris, Joe, thank you ever so much for joining us today for this very quick conversation.
Thanks for having us.
So it's been a very interesting couple of years, and it must be incredibly wonderful to have the doors well open now within the hotels and bringing in all the travellers again. If you can tell me, what has been your experience to actually sort of getting those travellers and guests booked in the last year and a half, and what's your focus over the coming 12 months?
Well, I think we've probably all been pleasantly surprised at the level of travel demand that we're all experiencing. That's a general sweeping statement across the board. Obviously, the different levels are different depending on which hotels and the location. But as everybody kind of sees in their own hotels, it is predominantly led by leisure travelers, followed by the groups, and then kind of lastly, sort of the traditional corporate travelers. But there are, again, different levels of recovery when you kind of zoom into each one of them depending on your hotel and location. So corporate travel, as we kind of, the reason why I put it as a traditional corporate travel is because like the likes of the big firms are probably much slower to recover than sort of your blue collar corporate travelers that are on the highway and traveling. Equally, there are business travelers who are kind of hiding in the leisure market segment in our hotel reports that doesn't appear as a corporate traveler but are clearly here to work. You see them working in all the hotel lobbies, even though on paper at least they don't appear as corporate travelers.
Interesting. So there's a lot more data you've got to be looking at to really understand the type of guest. And how are you seeing things, Chris?
From my perspective, we're seeing a really different geo-mix of business. So we're still seeing the really desired, I hate the expression staycation, where we're seeing a lot of the UK coming to London and want to stay. We're seeing a lot of it in Scotland, which is my home, so I'm tracking that also. Corporate travel, transient corporate is not travelling. They've changed their travel policies. We're probably seeing about a third of what we had expected in 2019. America still aren't travelling as much to London as they were, but we're expecting that to uplift, but from a different age demographic. So the luxury typically attracts individuals of wealth, and we're now moving down decades of age, so we're seeing different mixes, but not to the same volume. UK domestic travel is being a big supporter of London luxury, and I would say Scottish luxury also. Channels, consortia generally is doing very well, and that's the driver of what we have remained within American business. But it's not to criticise American business, we're still doing very well, but we aren't seeing the significant volumes that we saw before.
It's fascinating to know how much the audiences and the demographics have changed so fundamentally from just 3 years ago. How are you and your teams really getting to grip with understanding who they are, what they want, the experiences that you need to deliver? If I start with you, Chris.
Yeah, no, we're pulling out of COVID, so it's all pretty much unforecastable. We are doing as much as we can to support our travel agents and international markets, looking at new sales support in international markets, but Yeah, we as London are seeing predominantly in luxury American and UK business, but we are pushing as hard as we can. To be topical, the Queen's funeral brought a lot of international business to the city, which we hope to continue those relationships.
Did you see the benefits of the Queen's funeral as well? I guess that's also given put Britain back on the map a bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were literally on the spotlight of every single media in every country for the last week or so. I have a lot of colleagues kind of distributed all over the world, and that usually was the first topic of. It used to be the weather. You talk about the weather to open up any call. Now it was about the Queen's funeral, which unfortunately. As unfortunate as it was, it did bring a lot of compression to the market. London benefited a lot, so did Edinburgh, some spillover into Glasgow. So unfortunate event, but it did bring quite a lot of demand to the areas.
Talking about unfortunate events and a topic that is really on the forefront of many people's minds, inflation. Joe, how are you sort of looking at the impact inflation is having on your hotel, and how you're then managing, how are you looking at passing those costs on or the revenue mix within your properties?
Yeah, I think we look at inflation maybe into two different categories, right? One is kind of this open market transient type pricing where we're just pricing to maximize our RevPAR. So there, the customers will either take it or not take it, but that's pretty straightforward. And we have been able to push rates to levels we have not been able to see. And then just the challenge with that is just getting our revenue management team and the hotel team to continue to push and actually get them a little bit feel uncomfortable to sell at rates that they never thought that they could sell in the past. Then there's
No, I was going to say I concur fully. It's an opportunity where we've seen rate growth, we've seen some occupancy suppression. And that's what the key part about revenue management is. You can't suppress your rates to drive occupancy because you'll never see the rates returning. And that's the fight back. So, no, I completely concur.
Yeah, then I think the second part of that is I think more on that kind of B2B / kind of your fixed rate arrangements that you have with various parties, the wholesale and your B2B segments. And they are a little bit more nuanced. Similar kinds of conversations, but it is kind of forcing us to have more direct, honest conversations with our clients. It's pushing the sales team to get comfortable talking about these sensitive topics, and or deciding what kind of business that we want and what kind of businesses that we don't want. And if we don't have them, how do we then kind of replace those businesses with others that are, say, yieldable as the inflation changes?
Thank you very much. And Chris, what about sort of energy prices? I mean, this is a big issue for so many of the hospitality industry.
You've got to remember how big some of these buildings are, and energy prices, when you add 18, 20, 30% to these things, they're massive buildings. Unfortunately, I would say we don't pass these costs on to our customers or our reservation requests. But the demand has allowed us to increase average rate. But these utility costs haven't necessarily impacted how we've impacted pricing. Mm-hmm. I think it's still. I still don't understand most of the industries in the UK who are fighting for payroll increases, which the businesses just can't afford, with strikes, etc. I just don't think they're sensible. I think they're limiting how we move forward. For hospitality to limit transportation through strike is limiting our hospitality performance in already a difficult recovering market.
Oh yeah, I mean, everything's been stacked against hospitality in so many instances. But then we've also seen a bit of a shift, particularly in the way that people are booking, which is benefiting the revenues. How is your direct booking performing, and what is your focus there?
It's a good point. I would say direct bookings for the project I'm currently working with is aligned. What we are seeing is very, very, very short lead for groups, meetings, events, literally 10 days before, and we're going to confirm a group of, 50 or 60 rooms for 7 nights, and we're doing that the week before, so forecasting is quite difficult. Transient demand is good. Again, I go back to that horrible word staycation, so I'm seeing a lot of short lead OTA business, a lot of short lead brand.com business. I think it's just we're trying to, I'm not going to say try to survive, we're trying to recover.
And do you see that recovery in the same way, Joe, or how are you looking at sort of your direct channel there?
Yeah, I think so. I think fairly uniformly across the board, the direct booking share has increased over pre-pandemic across all hotels. I think the biggest driver of that is the level of international travel mix. The OTAs traditionally are stronger at bringing the international travel, and if you just look at your hotel websites, kind of Google Analytics, and just look at what source market that there are, you'll be surprised just how much of your website bookers are domestic travelers. And so as the international traveler mix drops, your direct booking share will naturally increase. So this year, for example, in 2022, the direct booking share has declined over last year, even though we're still up on 2019, because this year there are still more international travelers than last year.
Without doubt. Yeah, we're feeling the same trend in my past few projects and this one. So international is returning, but it's not bouncing back as quickly. And we're about to go to
Fortunately.
November. Well, I've already pretty much sold September and October here, and November's where I'm looking for that demand. But it's the lead.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the consumers are turning to the direct channel really because of the flexibility that it allows them to have, and they feel that they really want to take this intermediation out of their booking journey and all that uncertainty. And I think it also, they have this perception that direct bookings means additional value. All of those incentives and direct booking benefits that hotels are now focusing quite a bit on turning to direct marketing to fuel and to feed that perception that consumers have. And I think a lot of investments going at the moment, at least from what we see with our customers, in direct marketing strategies and technologies that can support those efforts.
And to add to that, Cristina, I would say, we need to be a little bit more hostile with our direct booking strategy, because while you've said the international markets, they are coming by OTAs because they know the OTAs, they don't know us, but we need that, I would say, a stronger direct booking message, which I've said for years.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just room revenue though, as well. It's also what you can get from the ancillary services. Now, Cristina, that's also a big focus that we're starting to see in the industry. A lot more revenue coming from that side. Where are you sort of seeing some of that focus for ancillary from amongst your customers?
I think with ancillaries, what is great is that irrespective of demand, whether it's high or low, ancillary services can be a really strong source of business. And although rooms may be the main driver, you can get a lot out of ancillaries. In certain properties, you can get to 30-40%. I'll be quite curious to hear from Chris what we're seeing here at the Savoy in this instance.
Well, in luxury, ancillary services booked online were as much as 35-40%, especially afternoon teas in the posh lounge, both in this property and my other properties, booking of gifts, booking of items, booking of breakfasts. When they had bought a rate that didn't include breakfast, they then bought it as an ancillary service. So, the ancillary service online market is growing with lots of new providers. I can't really promote one at this moment in time, but I've worked with several. But we're seeing a significant turnover of ancillary services booked online.
And of course, automation and direct booking platforms support all of this.
That's the problem, is the automation. So there are ancillary services who don't have the automation, and that's my question. So it makes my life more difficult, my team's life more difficult, because we don't have the automation of interface. You make a booking, it flows through, you get a booking in your, call it your restaurant management system or your reservation management system. So automation is still a issue in that area. Yeah.
We need to work on that, Chris, then.
Pitch it.
Just pitch it.
Yeah,
that's
just pitch
it.
it.
But I think upselling and cross-selling is really the bread and butter of being able to leverage all of these ancillary streams.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Joe, part of your role is e-commerce, and that's been growing within the hotel sector over the last few years. Are you putting greater emphasis now on ancillary products up until arrival and during the stay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what COVID has done is that it's particularly here that maybe this year, and hopefully this trend will continue for a little bit longer, is that the people that are traveling now, we call them the revenge travel, right? Mm-hmm. So they've been kind of been cooped up in their house for a long time. This is when they're actually splurging. So when they book that standard room type, it's not just about offering, hey, you can upgrade to this room and book yourself to a nice dinner, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's actually making it super emotional, right? It's like, treat yourself. It's been a long time, right? Like, you've been saving all that money. You got free money from the gov, you know? It's like, you got to look after yourself. Health is a big thing. And I think people are actually responding to those messages far more than, whereas previously, pre-COVID, it was just about 30% off to get yourself upgraded. The message is quite different, but it works a lot better.
Creative, emphatic marketing connected with revenue performance.
Yes.
Wonderful, beautiful approach there. And obviously we need to talk about that a lot more, about the different systems that can be there and support and facilitate that. And this is exactly what the Just Pitch It hospitality marketplace is all about in November, right, Cristina? Could you give us a little bit more details on what we have to look forward to?
Yeah, I think what I really look forward to and what I enjoy about Hospitality Marketplace is that it really creates that event platform to connect the latest innovation in the space with hoteliers who are really looking for inspiration and find out what else do they need to fit into their marketing kit and into their budget for the remainder of the year, but also for 2023. So it'll be 4 days of dedicated innovation within revenue maximization, distribution, direct bookings, and actually operation sustainability as well, because sustainability it's about how do you integrate that into every single layer of your operation, and how do you integrate it within revenue and marketing as well, so you can obviously create and connect with that consumer at a much deeper level, because they do care a lot about sustainability. So we have 4 days in the diary, 15th, 16th, 22nd and 23rd of November, and we are absolutely delighted to have Christopher Cooper and Joe Pettigrew as key judges in our panels for various of these days. So please stay tuned and make sure you follow us on the event and register up.
This is a complete virtual event, so it can be accessed from anywhere. It's a pitch by a technology company where then the judges sort of review that. What are you particularly looking for from technology at the moment? You mentioned automation there, but is there anything that you're keeping your eyes out and really interests you at the moment?
I think there's two elements. As you say, it's integration. I don't want to have to touch anything. I just want to make it happen.
Yep.
You know? And then there's cleverness. What's missing? How do we move things forward? Where's the revenue opportunity? People often say I'm heartless, but I'm chasing the dollar every day, and I don't want a missed opportunity. So if a guest does this, how do we follow that journey? How do we then follow that journey for the next booking? But how do we? Automation is the biggest thing, you know. And I'm not trying to reduce payroll. But I am trying to reduce payroll. You know, I want everything automated, but I want cleverness behind it. At the moment, there's no real innovators. You know, the PMS provision, the estate, the RMS provision is kind of older. the other revenue, ancillary revenue streams, how do they interact with the PMS? How do we make it automated? How do we make it clever? So the customer's booked a room only booking. How do we sell them dinner? How do we sell them breakfast? It's the cleverness that I'm looking for. And we're not there yet.
And how about yourself, Joe? What are you looking for?
I think largely I'm looking for maybe two areas. One is somebody to come up with some really nice way of giving us some leading indicators of predicting future demand. All of our current systems today, they all look back to predict the future. But I think there are lots of different data points out there that you could look at to, consume just forward-looking data somehow. And I think that would be a dream. The second thing is just like how the revenue management systems have kind of revolutionized how the revenue managers price rooms. I would love for there to be a system that helps revenue managers put strategies and tactics together based on different insights that they can have. So it not only helps them with pricing, but also the overall kind of revenue strategy moving forward.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Thank you, Cristina, as well. So something to look out for then. Hospitality Marketplace is coming up in November 2022. Check out some of the other interviews that we're going to be doing through the Industry Insights series through Travel Market Life and Hospitality Marketplace. I've been your host, Ryan Haynes. Thank you very much.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.